It's best of 3. Start off down to the bottom left-hand side of our blue Zerg player from Team Liquid. It is Snute. He is going to be up against, of course, the Red Cross player. To the top right-hand side from Mysterion, it is Harstem. This game, one of this series, both of these players so far, 2-0 in the group in terms of map score, 1-0 in the series, both of them with a 2-0 over Lambo. The other player who's still alive in this group is TLO, who is, well, 0-1, has not won a map yet. He got 2-0'd by Lambo earlier, so a little bit of a rough position for TLO and TLO fans alike, I suppose, right now, as we well, get into the ZvP, which could kind of really determine how this group ends up looking in the later stages, of course. You win this one, and then you beat TLO as well, who so far has been the weaker player, but could definitely, of course, cause some upsets. But you win this one, you could finish top of the group. Of course, you lose this one, and then you lose to TLO, you might actually still be out of this group as well. There is some tiebreaker possibilities here in all of this, so a few possibilities, a few different ways that this could end up going as we set up early game on Blackpink in this ZvP. Best of 3. Nexus coming down, Gate Nexus opening from Harstem, nothing too ridiculous in the super early stages. We'll see. I mean, we obviously saw a little bit of Harstem's PvZ, and obviously we've seen only his PvZ here so far today. It looked to be terrifying against Lambo, actually. I mean, both of the games looked very much as though he knew what he wanted to do, he knew what he was doing throughout. He was getting quite a bit of damage done, and you know, he was just forcing Lambo to kind of play the game he wanted Lambo to play, rather than allowing Lambo to make choices of his own. So Harstem able to really look dominant there early. Obviously we just saw some ZvZ from Snute, and that was one heck of a quick series. I think a 3-minute game and a 5-minute game. Snute just defending aggression of Lambo and finding some holes in his walls, quite literally. Was able to take that one. So see how Snute's ZvP is looking. And again, just as a reminder, now the rest of our series coming up, ZvZ after this once again with TLO versus Snute, and then we wrap up the day with Harstem versus TLO as well. So I mean, we're halfway through the group, but we got rid of 2 ZvZs already, so I guess we're in the better half now. Stargate is starting up here from Harstem. He's getting that ready to roll again. That setup is about halfway done. And that's what he was doing against Lambo as well, so not changing up anything just yet, but he did definitely have a couple of different builds that he'd like to use off of the Stargate. Now, against Lambo, he had a kind of a cool kind of combination of how he did things, as this time he actually goes for Adept Stalker, so he probably won't go into Resonating Glaives to follow this up. But I liked what he went for against Lambo earlier, where in Game 1 he went for the Glaives follow-up to a single Oracle. And in Game 2 he just went for double Oracle into the Robo, then Forged Twilight to set up into what's kind of a charge lot, Templar Archives focused mid-game. I kind of liked it because in the Game 1 obviously you apply that pressure of the Glaives, and then Lambo was kind of left thinking for himself, well in Game 2, you know, if this guy's kind of played Glaives in Game 1, that's something I've got to be aware of and maybe a bit afraid of in Game number 2 as well. And so it's kind of like it puts you into like an interesting little spot of kind of mindset as the Zerg. So we'll see what Harstem does this time. I mean, just the opportunity to go Glaives though in the series, I mean, it could be that he goes, well actually there we go, Twilight Council does come down. I think he'd go for it with the Stalker coming out, but maybe he wants the Stalker to actually just deny the Overlord Scout, which of course then makes that Glaives fairly powerful as well, and keeps a lot of possibilities going. Lair is going to start up from Snute again. Around that 350 marker is what we've been seeing pretty much every Zerg player starting up their Lair. As of late, kind of became a thing. I really noticed this when I was in Barcelona casting WSG, the European Regional Finals, and it was kind of the time where ZvP kind of had to be a bit of a reinventing kind of post-Home Story Cup, and it was there that we started to see this kind of just around 4-minute Lair tech to go again into like the faster Hydra Den, set up in towards something which can allow you to go for either faster Lurkers or a bit more of an aggressive Link-Bane Hydra. See how Snute decides to do this for now, as he does go in towards the Bane Nest, again ready to prepare against the Depths, as the Oracle comes in and does pick up a few workers just to the left-hand side on the third base as well. Resonating Glaives, as we mentioned for Harstem, will of course go quite a long way. As we do keep this rolling on through. Hydraless Den is starting up in the main, and that's exactly what we expect off the Lair, of course. So setting that up, a lot of Lings on the way out too. Again, he has to be ready to deal with this Glaives if that's what's going to be coming down. Snute does a very good rid of this so far, even though he doesn't have the actual scout and information. Playing super safe against Harstem, obviously aware of the fact that Harstem can kind of go for something like this Resonating Glaives opening. And so just beginning to prepare against it nice and early on. So Hydra Den does finish, and we do see this Oracle will come through the top side of the map now. will be moving around to look to see what it can do. Again, Glaive's about to finish up, so the depths will be starting to move over, but well, Snute is very well prepared, and I think one big difference is that Snute is already on 50 workers despite having made a whole bunch of units to defend against this. And that was where Lambo kind of went wrong, I guess, a little bit, because he was kind of on like 43 to 45, and he just stuck on 43 to 45 for so long, whereas Snute here is continuing to work her up, drone up all the way. And so while Harstem gets his third Nexus saturated here in the next few moments, Snute's going to be matching that worker count, and in general already has the units to defend from the Adepts, and well, this is looking kind of okay for him. The Adepts in pretty high numbers, in fairness. I mean, there is 12 of them. You can understand why Lambo was scared, but Snute has confidence in his Banelings, which are going to start running forwards, going to keep himself kind of in between the Shades and the actual Adepts to make sure he's close enough to deal with whatever they may decide to do. And now he's keeping those Adepts away from his mineral line, which is sort of what he wants, and again, based on how Harstem approached that game against Lambo, probably will not commit in with these Adepts. Would rather keep them back, keep them with his army, and get to use those again in just a little while. Robobase starts up from Harstem as well, and that's something we saw him do when he went for this build earlier as well. It's got kind of a carbon copy so far in terms of what he's going for. That Robobase heading towards what was Colossi last time. And then he didn't use the Colossi at all in the second game against Lambo, so a bit of a change up based on what he was seeing. So far just sat on kind of 53 drones and actually going in towards a lot of Lingbane Hydra, and so this is something we saw Lambo doing as well against this Adept attack. It's kind of crazy how similar this game is, and with having obviously the same Protoss player but two different Zergs. It's sort of a very similar approach where with 53 workers he stopped worker production, he's gone into pure unit production, and he's literally looking to be aggressive. Now the thing was that when Lambo tried to do this, he just didn't find the opportunity to attack on in, but Snute seems to be a little bit faster across the map in terms of getting ready to fight, and so the first Colossus is definitely nowhere near being ready, and Harstem here is really just not got that much. I mean, he's got the few sentries, that's what he had last time as well, and Oracle flies over a few Hydras, it will just survive here. Harstem has a prism coming across the map, but as Snute comes in from two angles, there's two force fields to the left already, the next couple of force fields coming in, but the Banes are able to move forwards. There's also no charge in these Zealots, so they're not going to be able to close the distance from Hydras very quickly, and honestly, Snute feels as though he's got a heck of a lot here to work with. Banes into the mineral line, we see a lot of these probes going down, 10 workers already, and that number's just going to keep on increasing. 14. Now, I mean, the Depths have just gone into Snute's main base at the same time, so Harstem's going to start doing some economic damage as well, but God, does he need to. Templar Archives will forfeit. He's also going to lose the third Nexus. And as those Depths are going to start putting in some work, and okay, they're going to do a fair amount here. Already actually 15 workers down. Snute also losing the Hydra 2 in this process. He's going to shade away from what is a good collection of Queens, but he actually shades into Hydras and Lings. And so those Adepts will end up being cleaned up here for the most part. Again, I mean, 21 drones to 27 probes is decent here, of course. It's not bad by Harstem, but he lost a third Nexus in the process. At the end of this, obviously, Snute did have less workers going in, though, because he went for that aggressive timing, and so he does come out 15 workers behind. And now there's a Colossi here as well, and so obviously Harstem's defending on two bases, but if he can't just defend and hold on two bases, it is something he could possibly use to his advantage here. He's going to see another probe just being picked off. And some Hydras just gathering up outside of this, well, where the third base once was. Snute did kill the Warp Prism in the process, that's why so many of the Queens were in the main base, and so Harstem can't be further aggressive on Snute's side of the map, and now Snute, well, he does what Zerg does best, which is just to mass up those workers when he finds himself the opportunity. Now Snute's going to split up as well. Harstem not with a lot of units here, and as the Colossi try and run away, they have to run through Hydras, and that might just be the issue. Snute finds the chance to get on top of this, and Harstem is just a little bit too eager here to get his third base up once again. So Snute's in terms of playoffs. A couple of round of 8 matches. We'll cast 2 of the round of 8 matches, probably out of 4, and then all of the semi-finals and finals, 3 best-of-5s to follow up as we kick off into game 2 now, though. With Snute Harstem, we have to the top left-hand side our blue Protoss player from Asterion. Here's Harstem. His opponent down to the bottom right-hand side from Team Liquid. It's our red Zerg, of course. It's Snute. Looking good with the kind of lair timing there in game 2, just Lair comes up early and goes into that aggressive Hydra Lingbane, which is again one of those things you can see off of that fast Lair, get the Hydra count up and the Hydra upgrade up fast enough to hit it, you know, just prior to 8 minutes. And with the build that Harstem was going for, it becomes a very powerful response because Harstem's just at that stage where he did make Adepts early, and now he's in the transitionary period of, you know, trying to go in towards Colossi, trying to set up in towards Charge, but he doesn't actually have any of that yet, and, you know, Glaved Adepts are good, but when you've got a full-on force of Lingbane Hydra, Adepts on their own are just not going to cut it, especially when you're rating on other units to come out there. It's still very close. I mean, Harstem made it into a bit of a game with that damage he did across the map. Those adepts definitely fighting a lot, and I mean, maybe with the damage he did and putting Snute on such a low work count, maybe he could have just waited a bit longer before moving out towards the third. It's kind of a rough one though, because he already has 2 Colossi, right? So then it's just kind of massing up more gateway units. It's a tough decision to make, and it's a tough one to read as well in terms of making sure you know how much damage you've actually dealt, knowing how far ahead you were on that work count for a while. It can be a tough one to read, and especially as Snute has 4 bases still alive, he can just drone, and obviously Harstem is not applying any pressure, especially with the lack of a prism. And so maybe Harstem felt he just had to get the third base. And you know, maybe he actually did. Maybe that was the best play he could have made there. Maybe if he had sat back, we would have just seen this game end in a couple of minutes later with Snute just having way too much whenever Harstem still tried to take the third base. So a little bit of an interesting game, a little bit of an interesting scenario we got set up into in the end though. More prism. Sorry, not more prism. Well, gate being chrono twisted out, that'd be crazy. More prism off a Cybercore. Might be a little bit broken. As you do see, the Twilight Council sets up for Harstem. This time it's a Twilight Council off the bat. We're not going to be seeing something like a Oracle or anything like that, so it's a bit of a change up from Harstem to what we've seen earlier. I wonder if he just goes fast glaives, because obviously he has been kind of enjoying the glaives. So I wonder if he just goes fast glaives into a follow-up. Maybe he feels as though the Oracles didn't give him enough of a use in the last game to kind of really gain an advantage or to justify going into them again. I mean, I think Oracle's always nice as the game goes by, but if Snute's going to try and kill you at 7 minutes, the Oracles aren't really going to do a lot apart from give you a little bit of information that that attack is coming, which can be seen in other ways as well. So, anyways, in the meantime, Snute just gets up a whole chunk of Lings, actually 18 in production. It's a lot for what is currently not actually anything on the map, but I guess he's more or less on the saturation for 2 bases. He's pulled out a gas as well, so it's actually just pure Ling at the moment from Snute. All he's invested into is that Ling speed, and it means that he will not have the gas in time to start up that 4-minute base lair that we've been talking about and seen in the previous games of Zerg so far today in the ZvP. So as that glaives is about halfway done, Harstem is continuing to set on up again. More Lings coming up the left side, 18 more in production. Snute's really getting very aggressive with this to the point where he might even just be looking to, well, I guess counter-attack in, kind of beyond these adepts, right, or maybe kind of do something from there. He's going to see a few of these adepts shading, so he'll start to pull back with some units. Some Lings still sticking to the left side. I mean, an attempt to run by would actually be potentially successful depending on how fast the warping came for Harstem. Now Snute starts to move forward where those adepts have made a place in the wall, so Harstem just has to, Harstem will hold and Snute has to pull back those Lings. Now he's drawing up, but he finds himself at a work at deficit from having made so many units. Like I said, he does have so many units to come in and just get the straight up clean surround, and Harstem starting to lose these adepts very quickly here. Snute, this many Lings should be able to clean this up easily, but again, Harstem, even though he lost them, it wasn't great, it wasn't perfect. In fact, it's pretty much the worst trade he could have taken in the scenario. But he did force a lot of these units, well, not forced necessarily, but these units were still made early, and so his work count's still okay. The biggest issue for him at the moment will be the lack of a third Nexus, and one of the repercussions of not investing in towards that Oracle early on is that without the Oracle, you're even more, you're going to be even more troubled in terms of trying to take the third Nexus, because you're not going to have an Oracle or two to run in and help defend if the Lings are going to be in overwhelming numbers. And so suddenly Harstem is warping in sentries, he's still on 2 bases 5 minutes in, throwing down a Robo, but in general this is not really going the way he wanted to, as Snute starts to drone up into insane numbers, saturating all 3 of his bases, and obviously as he gets set up there he'll start to take his extra gases, even a macro hatch in the main. Throws down a Roach in this game too, probably seeing Harstem just on 2 bases, realizing he can probably get away with playing Roaches for a while here just to kind of deflect a 2-base focus Protoss. Maybe it's just a little bit more effective than playing on Ling Bane initially. Then he can transition into kind of Ling Bane Roach later and eventually the Hydra Den too. But obviously he's a long way off of Lair, so that's kind of just what Snute's going for at the moment as we continue to roll on through this. So War Prism lifts up these couple of adepts and it's going to head on over to the right hand side. 7 more Overlords on the way from Snute, so he's making a lot of OVs to the point where he might just be spamming Roaches in the next few minutes and not stopping, honestly. There's a lot of supply he's going to have free here to just spam out units, and then he can just go and attack across the map and maybe just overwhelm, knowing that Harstem is very much so on, I guess, kind of an adept-based force. But again, I mean, there's a good amount of sentries coming up now, and Immortal or 2 as well. Obviously, Immortals will chew their way through Roaches very easily, but I guess then the argument becomes that you know, maybe there's just too many Roaches. Harstem had on a bunch of gates behind the third Nexus, not making any more probes just yet, so maybe not actually intending to utilize this third Nexus for actual economy for the foreseeable future. Snute will finally throw down the lair. Still a very low-tech army, of course. Just Lung Roach, not even a missile upgrade on the way for those Roaches. Eventually he'll get in towards Roach speed. He could add on a Bane Nest as well. He can use some of that gas and Ravages, which is what he's going to go for now. I mean, a couple biles to pop some force fields can definitely go a long way, as those sentries going to gather themselves up and just pull themselves in towards these Adepts too. And Mortal 2 going to be gathering as well. We obviously this Rock Tower going to get picked away at, and it's going to get taken down as well. So the Rock Tower will fall. Now we see a lot of Lings up the right hand side here, going to be able to come on in and they'll hit this third Nexus. Going to pull Harstem to the right, allowing the Roaches or so perhaps to get in towards a better position too. It's a lot of sentries, a lot of force fields, and again a triple Immortal already out here. It's going to be really interesting. We're going to see the Lings breaking forwards. The initial force fields kind of kept a couple of Ravages away. The Lings on their own are not going to have a great time, but now the Roaches from the back side. Well, there's going to be a corrosive battle which Harstem is able to dodge away from, though. He's able to get away from that actually very easily. But now this army of Snute is collapsing in on this, and well, these Immortals going to be able to carry Snute, carry Harstem through this defense. It seems though for now, yes, they are. A lot more Lings on the way, and these Lings are so essential, but it's a great force field once again. Harstem will be able to catch another 4 Roaches or so. Snute's army supply just plummeted, and obviously his composition is not getting any better here. When you see us throwing down a Spire at this stage of the game, well, it's obviously going to be for Mutas, but almost kind of like a desperation move, because Mutas are one of these units which obviously have kind of a super high kind of comeback potential. And so, not usually the kind of way that we generally play out a mid-game ZvP, especially lately. Muta play in general has kind of taken a big dip in terms of effectiveness and just use, you know, the ability to just throw down kind of photon cannons with shield batteries next to them in each mineral line, rather than just going in towards, like, you know, rather than having to have your mothership core in a certain position to defend here or there. I mean, Muta's, you know, it's not something that's not going to be used ever, but it's something that's used very rarely, and it's definitely one of those situations I think where Snute is just like, well, if I try and make Hydras, I'm not going to get enough up to take a fight, right? And so I have to go for something more that's going to maybe just save me here in a couple of minutes. But Harstem is pushing. If Harstem did commit to this, it would be kind of deadly. So its gas bank is looking pretty good, right? So you can go into a good, probably by the time the Spire finishes, I guess 10 meters at once. You have 10 meters flying to this army right away, 8 sentries die, and then the rest of the Immortals go down too. The War Prism starts out a few Stalkers, though that'll go a long way. Well, he just peels a few Lings in towards this third base. There isn't actually anything in position here at all to defend this. Might even just see Harstem for a recall to get back home. No, he's going to go for it. So he's happy to trade out some bases at the moment, it seems. But again, Snute, he's actually making more Lings and a couple more Roaches. So obviously he feels as though Mutas are not the answer right now. First Guardian Shield is popped. He's got a lot of Ravages here. If the Lings get the surround and stop these units from moving, the Ravager Biles will do a lot of damage. Now, one Ling counterattack is doing insane amounts here, although the cannon is starting to clean it up. Only 10 probes killed. I actually thought it would be more. So that's starting to start getting cleaned up. Snute sends even more Lings across the map, realizing that this army is in very high numbers over here. So this is his third base, his fourth base still being hit on by a couple of these Adept. Lings get to surround once again as more Adepts will fall over to the right hand side. Ravagers, Queens, will gather themselves together here. They're going to be seeing at some point Snute has to take this fight. And he is now going to start up a him or Middleists. He brought all of his Lings back home. The Supers going to be just being used to pop over the force fields. As 11 more meters come in, I guess again the answer is you fly in, you take down the War Prism, then you focus Stalkers and Sentries, but Harstem will probably recall, which is maybe why we see Snute going across the map. I would have liked to see a few Lings just to back up this arm, but I guess just full on base trade as you get the meters going. Well, obviously Harstem still can recall over here, and that's what he's going to start going for in just a moment. There's the recall in. Lings are going to be kind of on top of a few bits and pieces of this army, especially a couple of these Stalkers starting to get picked away at. Ravagers start to take down some units too, as we see the Sentries being targeted as units fly in. The Sentries are starting to fall, a couple more Stalkers warping in as well to help out with this. I think Harstem will defend it, but Lings on the mineral line were not able to really do enough to the army that was there. And Harstem will push these few meters back. They're going to come back around to the side of the meters, fly over to the left to see what else they can get up to. And a couple more Stalkers warping in onto the natural expansion. 2 more Stargates just building up here as Harstem will just try and find an answer to the Mutas in the long term. Just a few Phoenix will go a long, long way and will just make life so much easier. I mean, he doesn't even have Blink, he didn't even start Blink yet, so again, he's just so confident that the Phoenix is big enough. So he's pretty dead anyways, he GG's out. And so Harstem's going to tie this series up. Anything right now on Matchery now. It's just getting better. Super simple, takes 20 seconds. You use the code WTVCI2 for WardiTV Christmas Invitational number 2, which is our event today, of course. And you add $1 to the prize pool. It goes to the players. Of course, if you want to add a few more dollars, it does go a long way to supporting the event and making the players happy, and again, all the prize money that you guys donate, whether through coupon code or through your own pocket, it does go directly to the players. We don't take any cut of it or anything like that. Top left hand side, our blue Zerg player from Team Liquid is Snute. As we go into this third game, again remember the winner of this series is guaranteed to go in towards the quarterfinals tomorrow, which will be very exciting, I'm sure. As we have to the bottom right hand side, our red Protoss player from Asterion is Harstem. Harstem looking to be the third non-Zerg player in the playoffs, and obviously we are guaranteed at least 5 Zerg players from this event into the round of 8. Our current non-Zergs are Showtime and Ufernal, so in fairness, we have a pretty good chance, I think, of seeing like a non-Zerg kind of non-ZvZ semi-final setup. Showtime playing very well lately, Ufernal playing very good, especially in the ZvT matchup, the TVZ matchup, where he doesn't have to play against pro shenanigans. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility that we maybe have a ZvZ heavy round of 8, but get into like a non-ZvZ heavy round of 4. But it would be awesome to, of course, see like another non-Zerg make it and add a little bit more variety, of course. And if Harstem was able to finish this group in first place especially, it would actually guarantee only one ZvZ in the round of 8, because Ufern will finish top of his group, Showtime finished top of his group, so those guys can't play each other in the round of 8. And so if Harstem finishes on top of his group, he can also not play Ufernal or Showtime in the round of 8 either, so it would just set us up into one ZvZ. If Harstem was to finish in second place, he could hit a Zerg player 2 and kind of avoid the non-Zerg team kill, I guess, in the quarterfinals. But then he would play against Nurture, which I don't think he'd be too happy about either. So definitely a lot on the line here. Actually, he'd play against Gly, I think. I think Gly finished top of the day, so actually maybe that wouldn't be so bad for Harstem in all of this. But of course, I think he wants to make sure he finishes as best as he can and see what he can do from there. As we do just set up again into the early stages of this game. Number 3, a single Adept already coming through, and a second Adept is going to finish very shortly. The Oracle starts up, so he's back into his Stargate play once again now. Getting this ready to go. A few more drones on the way out, a couple of drones going down actually. This first Adept is going to be 3 kills, he loses the Adept though. Well, I mean, 3 workers this early in the game for an Adept, it's not that bad. I mean, okay, you don't have as much presence on the map continuing forwards, but again, you're probably not going to kill triple drone either, and he's already forced out a few lings that which would be, combined with Queens defensively. Okay, you'd be able to kind of push back the Adepts. I guess the one thing Harstem does lose is that now Snute can move forward with these few lings and get a little bit more map presence of his own, which he probably couldn't do as easily if they had to stay at home and defend against the Adepts. Well, the first Oracle's going to arrive, and it is a second Oracle on the way up as well, so Harstem going back into kind of, again, the other build I guess we've seen from him today against Lambo. Obviously, the last game we just saw a build we hadn't seen so far, and then the first game was the first build he used against Lambo, so just the double Oracle into, again, Forge, and he actually just goes into Forge very quickly. So last time he went into the Robo very fast, this time he changes it up with the Forge instead. And so by going into the Forge instead, it is a very different little scenario here, as we do see this second Oracle pops out, and it will just help to secure this third Nexus nicely for Harstem. Not having any real delays on this at all is just going to play a little bit of a game with that probe. Actually does use some of the Oracle energy to protect it, but worthwhile. At this stage the Oracles will not necessarily 100% have to be used for harassing. Just having them on the map for map presence is great. Obviously if you grab a couple of drones it's not going to be a bad thing, but using some energy early there to help us keep the probe alive, it's fairly worthwhile. Just going to be seeing these couple of Oracles sat up towards the upper side here, as we do have a Banelin Nest and an Evo Chamber going to finish up the wall. Out the front, not really too surprised that stop units coming up this ramp super early. Later in the game, Snute can break down those rocks, and then he can have a bit more access in towards the centre of the map. But in general, he's probably going to focus on the 4th hatchery here, and then unit production will rally here, and he can just take down these rocks to move out onto the map as well. 2 Oracles find themselves 2 workers so far, nicely done. The Queen's helping to push those units away. And the Oracle's just coming up through the top side and seeing where they can go. The Banner Nest is maybe about 75% of the way along here shortly. The 2 Oracles still just seeing what else they can get up to. 10 more Zerglings in production. So 10 more Zerglings coming through, 18 Zerglings coming through. Again, Snute just playing the safety game against any potential sort of aggressive follow-up, but not going to be the case from Harstem. A fast +1. Now the Robo is up, he goes into Robo Bay. And Twilight Council coming down as well. So it looks as though we're going to get the Quasi play once more. To get set up into that. Zamfing in the chat asking if the Showtime group's available to watch anywhere. So no, we actually didn't have any stream yesterday for either Group B or C. So you cannot watch the Showtime group. But we will be casting those games for replays, like probably the 26th of December or the 27th. We'll be casting those games for replays. So we will cast them at some point. You will be able to see the games, you'll be able to see how it played out. But there's just no way for us to realistically cast them before the playoffs tomorrow. And we can't delay the playoffs either, because we're on a strict schedule, because tomorrow is the final day of the OSC Championship season. So all OSC tournaments have to be finished up by the end of tomorrow. And so the WardiTV Christmas Invitational Playoffs is actually the final official OSC event of the year. So we have to get that finished up. And that's why tomorrow we have a double whammy cast. We actually cast the Masters Cup number 108 playoff day 2. And then we cast the Christmas Invitational playoffs, so it's kind of a double set of playoffs for us. And we'll have all the final results for the OSC Championship, which starts up in January. I'm going to be bringing you guys coverage of that actually from January 5th until the 14th. We're live every day other than one. The OSC Championship action is going to be pretty darn awesome. So look forward to that as you see these oracles coming in, going to grab themselves 5 workers. Not bad at all as the Spore Crawler nibbling its way through an oracle here. A little bit of damage being done. Again, I mean, these oracles are starting to really kind of add up here throughout the game as the +1 attack upgrade from Harstem is done, and +2 is halfway along. It's a very fast +2 considering just because of how fast the Forge came in. And right now he's on 1 Colossus. By the time +2 finishes, he'll have 2 and maybe a 3rd well on the way, depending on how this Chrono Boost helps out. So I guess maybe he looks to hit a very aggressive +2 timing. The Temple Archives will be there for Archons as well. He could just play a bit more passively and go in towards Storm, of course, and after he gets 2 or 3 Colossi. Generally, we're expecting the model production to start up as well to help out with what is now a Lurker Den coming through. So starting to see a little bit of a later scenario here in this ZvP, something we haven't really seen yet today. We saw Lambo get into Lurkers, but not in a very solid position at all, and he didn't really last on Lurkers for too long either. And I guess I'll read. I mean, if Harstem can defend this attack and Snute doesn't die to the big +2 timing, he definitely could get into quite a late game ZvP scenario here. Bane's going to roll in forwards. We are going to see a force field coming down. We're going to see Bane's continue to roll on in. Archon's warping in. These Banes are actually going to get good connections on the Zealots, though Harstem might be in trouble. And those Banes did a lot, and they actually continue to help out. I mean, it's not great to splash them onto Archons, but they did splash, which goes a long way. And so the Archons drop very quickly as the Hydras arrive. Still those Colossi a bit of an issue. They will shred Hydras and Lings, of course. Zealots coming in to try and protect. Snute will get rid of one of the Colossi already. I believe there's a 3rd Colossus up. It's just coming in from the left-hand side, and there it is as it arrives. The other Colossus go down. Reinforcing Zerglings are going to try and help out as well. He turns around with 1 Hydra remaining. This Colossus is actually starting to go down just to Zerglings at the moment, and it will be able to ledge walk up and save itself. A scary moment or two from Harstem. 4th Nexus obviously not able to really establish, but he does clean up the entire army of Snute here. All the Hydras go down, the Banes, well, they were all used up, and Snute looks as though he might just go for wave 2 of this, having reset a lot of those tech units, and obviously now able to add Lurkers as well. I mean, there's only 2 Colossi that are going to be up here, and the next time this attack hits, that second one on its way. The Archon numbers are non-existent. Obviously, you can't build Immortals if you're reproducing Colossi, so it's a little bit of a tough scenario. Probe's coming over and just going to be setting up towards this 4th base here again, as we see this Warp Prism up to the top and Adept inside of it. And like a burn already towards the front. Obviously, it's no deadly calls yet, no Hive Tech from Snute. We're starting to get in position on the 4th Nexus, starts to put Harstem into a little bit of a tricky place as to how he works around this. He's going to be seeing this Lurker or 2 continue to work their way through a couple of pylons, so balancing some damage. Another Lurker burrows towards the frontier, and well, now Snute starts to do what's very powerful in Abyssal, which is start splitting up these units a bit more, going towards the natural, and then also hitting the 4th base. Really starts to pull the pros kind of left and right. It's not a massive distance to wander, but it does, you know, it isn't easy to do. It's not the simplest of ways to play. 4 probes going down here as the Lings, Banes, Hydras. We'll just gathering up together. Lings breaking their way through a gateway or so here as well. Side of course still kind of low as there we go. Nexus does fall. More Hydras on the way out, more Zerglings on the way out. Just reinforcing this aggression. Snute really feels as though he can probably break Harstem in the near future. In fairness, Lurkers aren't going down or anything. Snute's only making progress. Now he gets access in towards his mineral line. Okay, shield battery here, but the cannon, I guess the cannon's actually going to be good for now. The Banes didn't quite take it down. Going down the process though, and again the 4th Nexus has fallen, so Snute is keeping Harstem very limited here, if nothing else, at this stage of the game. Just going to see those units out over the right still, and Snute looking for his next moment or so to look to see what he wants to do next. This hatchery comes down as well. So he's already established in towards the 5th base here. Harstem's army's not bad at the moment, obviously. I mean, a few Archons and Colossi, but is it really enough? Especially no Immortals, but obviously wandering in towards Lurker Fire like that is not going to help. Those Zealots taking some very heavy hits. Now the Revelation comes down, those Lurkers are a little bit more revealed. Snute actually does a cute thing here where he puts the undetected Lurkers kind of in the burrow mode in the back. And repositions these Lurkers over here for the rest of the army, so it's not as easy to just jump on top of them. So I'm going to see a couple of Archons coming over here, trying to get rid of this Overseer, and they will be able to get it, but taking some damage in the process. As again, access towards this mineral line is being opened if this Warlock is cleaned out here. So giving himself that opportunity again and again. Still just maxed up on these Hydras. Harstem has that +3 attack upgrade. Another Colossus about to pop. His splash damage continuing to increase over time, obviously now as he's back up onto 3 Colossi. He really is in some ways beginning to stabilize, but still not an easy position to play from, as we're going to see the new Cyber Core gets taken down. This gateway is also in range of Lurker Fire. To the top side, a lot of Lings are going to run in. Well, that's a lot of Archons as well, but the Lings are getting good surrounds. No upgrades in these Lings, so they take quite a long time to kill the Archons, but they'll get there eventually. Well, actually, the Zealots come in who will defend this, and throws away a lot of those units, I feel. Now he's going to run behind this mineral line. Finally, no cannon here to defend anymore. Lurker's still pushing up, and still maybe the major issue for Harstem. Just killed a lot of those Lings, etc. He's got a lot of money in the bank as well. He's also going to kill a bunch of these Hydras now as he pushes forwards. He just needs to find a way to get rid of these Lurkers. Zealots are going to sacrifice themselves to try and tank a little bit here, as Harstem's Colossi will start to deal with them as well. And it's been an intense couple of moments with Harstem. He's still holding on just about, but only on the 3 bases. Snute just relentless. He throws units his way. And as these Lurkers move further forwards, the threat is there of dealing more damage. But obviously, Harstem can pick away at them more easily. He just hasn't gotten rid of any of these ones that go into low health. Finally, he's going to get rid of one there. And as these burrow, he does have an observer nearby. He'll actually start picking off these Lurkers much faster, and suddenly the Lurker damage is really being quite limited. So Snute is going to be starting to lose quite a lot. Still pushing in towards the right-hand side with a lot of Hydras there, pushing in to see what they can do. Colossus here is firing away. You see some Zealots charging down the ramp, and we will be seeing these final Lurkers push back. Harstem eventually holds on, but again, held off of the 4th Nexus for so long here. I guess he didn't lose too many of his tech units in terms of Colossi. His Archon count is low. That's replaceable. And Immortal production has started up. The thing is, Snute's just been consistently throwing these units at Harstem anyways. He's got another wave ready to go. Coming in right now, he's just going to burrow his Lurkers around the 4th Nexus again, and well, that gets cancelled instantly. A few probes go down, but just trying a long distance mine because Harstem is actually running out of eco here. Main base with only 4 patches left, while the natural actually doesn't have workers on it right now, so you could send them back to the natural and at least get his economy stabilized for a moment or two. I mean, Harstem's play has just got to be to just build up maybe a couple more tech-focused units like those Immortals, Colossi, or Archons, whatever. Obviously, Immortals and Archons seems to be his choice at the moment. But build up into those and just go for one large attack. I think that's what he's got to aim for here, because outside of that, what is he going to do, right? I mean, is he actually eventually going to get this 4th Nexus up? Well, I mean, he can try. He's going to try right now, and Snute isn't in a position to immediately deny it. He's going to give it a moment or so to just chill out. Tries to get Lings into the natural. Harstem shoots that down instantly. And Snute will begin his transition. Infestation Pit to begin the tech in towards Hive. Vipers, etc. Maybe even moving in towards Brood Lords is a possibility, of course. So Snute's not going to find the opportunity to keep on moving forward. So for now, Snute's aggression seems to have subsided, but it was like in constant onslaught for 5 or so minutes here. And Harstem took, I guess, especially economic damage in the process. I'd say, like, again, his army wasn't really in too much of an issue here or there, as he lifts up his Lurker to the right side, but he's also got other issues. Lurker's now going to burrow on top, and well, there goes the 4th Nexus all over again. Cancelled here before he can even get up, and Probes just left long distance mining. Hydras and Lings at the front are picking away some pounds as well, just a distraction that maybe forces Harstem to pull a few too many units out of position and over to that left side. He'll deal with it pretty effectively just with the Zealots here, but again, it's Snute who's staying maxed out, and it's Harstem who's who every time after one of these fights happens, just seems to be on a lower and lower supply than the previous time. Lings, a Hydra, a couple of Lurkers are setting up once again as well, just going to try and hit the natural. Colossus got low here but doesn't go down. One of these Colossi is 31 kills. I guess there's a lot. This one is 35, 5. Just this final one got 14. It's a lot of kills. Obviously these Colossi have been putting in work for 5, 6, 7 minutes now. Almost constantly. If the first couple died, the rest of them have been very effective, if not being taken down at all. It's still just onslaught of units. Some more Banes warping in down the low ground. couple of lurkers will burrow here. Colossi push forwards, and we will be seeing still those lurkers taking a little bit of damage here and there now. And a few lings once more, as we can see Lingay and Hydra pushing forwards here, and we are going to be seeing still the Zealots taking quite a shot or two. Just still trying to find the one fight that might help him out and actually full on end this game, but the Protoss army is so powerful at the moment, and that's why Snute needs this Hive tech coming in, and he has gone into it, and that's why eventually that transition was needed. Also Snute to be able to realize it, of course, is we're going to be seeing the Hive about to finish, and hopefully see the Greater Spiral into morph, but that is still a while away. Greater Spires will not morph instantly. It takes another 80 seconds or so to morph in a Greater Spire. So while it takes that time, it's time for Harstem to finally get on the map and finally attack. And this is what we said a few minutes ago. If he can build up, get into a position where he finally just has enough units to push across with like a scary amount of tech units mixed in, we can definitely put an end to this. You can see those Banes rolling forwards here. We are going to see Archons, a lot of them going down initially with the Banes that have come forwards. A little while since we've really seen Banes, and Snute tries to make this defense happen. He's gone through a lot of the Archons and Moors, but still Colossi in the back. One person bringing in new Zealots and Harstem. But what opportunity he has to end this before Broods in late game, he might be able to make use of it here. Only Colossi really left, but a few Zealots in the front still tanking. Seems as though he might be able to do enough, and again, maybe for Snute that he didn't have the later game tech to fight against a tech heavier Protoss, and Harstem has held on. He's defended, he's known that he's probably got the one chance in this game, which is to survive, and oh, he's going to lose the prison. And that is huge, because now he loses micro potential, but he also loses Zealot Warpins. And a lack of Zealot Warpins to reinforce this could just be what Snute needs to finally push it away and to stop Harstem from being on the front of this attack. See those Colossi taking some hits now, and we're going to be seeing Stasis Warp goes down a few lings, but there's one Colossus now dead. Another Colossi falls, and finally Snute will power his way through this army. And with a Warpin of units, is possible, by the way, losing probes as well back at home. Maybe just a Warp